If you were about getting on the scales, guys, you shouldn't have to feel embarrassed about getting on the scales. You know that sinking feeling when you're stuck, trying to avoid mirrors, hiding food, consuming when nobody's watching? We know how that feels, and I definitely know how that feels because I have seen it firsthand. I've training people for over 4 decades, and I've seen it firsthand. And the sad thing is, when guys come and see me, every trainer they've seen before them, everything they've tried before, the same thing is told to them. They're told to cut out, show some willpower, stop what you're doing. But the sad thing is, the trainers don't get it. It's not what's in the mouth, it's what's on the mind. So once you understand this and what I'm about to show you today in today's Coffee Fit tip, you'll never have to feel embarrassed about getting on the scales again. And here's another thing you shouldn't be ashamed about: healthy food, good food. There's nothing wrong with good food, right? But when you eat too much of good food, you have good organic fat that you're going to learn very soon in this Coffee Fit tip. So let me tell you about a client I used to train. He used to train with me, and he said to me he was carrying weight, and I said to him when he first came, he almost pleaded with me. He said, "Don't put me on the scales." And I was wondering what was going on, and he didn't want to go on the scales. And the thing is, he didn't realize I don't put people on the scales. I don't put people on the scales because it embarrasses them, because I know that they feel embarrassed, and they shouldn't have to feel like that ever again. But I leaned in because he was really adamant about not wanting to go on the scales, and I said, "What's going on?" I'm trying to think, and I'm trying to get through to him, and I said, "Can you just give me a little hint about some of the foods you eat?" I said, "What do you eat when no one's around?" He looked confused. He looked at me really confused, and he said, "I eat grapes." And then he announced proudly, "But they're organic ones. They're the best ones I can find. They're really good." And I said, "But grapes? What is it about grapes?" He just said, "I love them. And they're natural and organic and they're healthy." I thought about a client I trained previously to this guy, and I said, "Yes, you've got natural organic fat because you're eating too many of them." But I'm trying to work out why he was so adamant that he had grapes and they were healthy, and he was really lean. I was trying to understand what's going on. I can see a pattern here, and the pattern is, if you've been with me before in the men's movement, if you've seen what I'm talking about here before, he was stuck. He was completely stuck, and he couldn't get out of this trap, and he was going through what I call the sinking feeling, where he was completely stuck. He was stuck in this spot. I recognize this pattern. It's not the first time I've seen this before. And I said to him, "When do you remember first eating grapes?" Because I wanted to understand what was going on. And he sat there really quietly, and his face changed, and he said, "When I was a teenager, I had a part-time job at a chemist. I was working behind the counter, and then she walked in." I said, "What do you mean she walked in?" He goes, "This girl who worked there, she was a chemist. She was a qualified chemist. I thought she was about 18. She ended up being, she was about 25, and she was gorgeous." And you could see it in his eyes. Like I could almost touch and feel the moment he was feeling. I could pretty much describe how she looked. She was a goddess. In his eyes, she was a goddess. You've probably been there before. You've probably had the same feeling with what this guy's had. And she shared with him one day, she brought in some grapes, and she shared the grapes with him. He'd have some grapes. And that moment, that he's stuck. He's stuck there. He's eating grapes because that moment was her. She was sharing something beautiful with him, these beautiful, sweet tasting grapes. And he's stuck in that moment. He's in that sinking feeling because he's eating the grapes. Or is he eating the grape? Because I get what he was feeling, and I bet you can get it too. That's that sinking feeling. If you've done the King method before with me, you know what we're talking about here. That's the sinking feeling. But I wanted him to get into the next phase of the program, which is, yes, we got that. We've got to acknowledge the sinking feeling, but I wanted him to get into the thinking. I'm sorry for rushing with the words here, but I want you to take your time. We're on a Coffee Fit tip. He needs to get into the thinking feeling because I want him to become, and I want you guys to become, the Thin Kings. But you can't become the Thin Kings unless you've gone through the sinking feeling and acknowledge that, and acknowledge the food you're eating. It's not about the food, it's the memories that go with the food. Because he wasn't eating grapes. He was consuming a memory. He was stuck in this sinking feeling. He was consuming, let's call it what it is. It's unrequited love. Is it happiness? That goddess, that besotted love, he was consuming a memory. And we've all had that, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's the trouble. This is the problem that happens in the fitness industry, right? You're trying to lose weight. You're trying to change your shape. And everyone will tell you the same thing. Even yourself will tell you the same thing. You've got to cut back on this. You've got to have some willpower. You've got to be motivated. They say the same things that everyone else says, and they don't get it because they haven't acknowledged the sinking feeling first, and then they've got to do the thinking feeling to become the thinking. Because once he does this, he'll be on his way to changing his body because he'll be on the way to eating differently. Because he had no idea what was going on. Therefore, he can't succeed because he doesn't know he's in the sinking feeling. He has no idea he's in the sinking feeling. He's not doing the thinking feeling. And they're all saying, come on, show some willpower. Come on, get motivated. You can cut that out. And that's like saying to him, cut out the memory of that first love, if you like, of him. Cut out the memory of the feelings of what she brought to him, that beautiful, sweet-tasting food. Cut it all out. How can he get out of the sinking feeling if he hasn't done the thinking? Trainers out there don't get this. In fact, I get emails from trainers when they finally see this, when they see my YouTube videos, they go, wow, I'm starting to use this with my clients and they're getting great results. And when you go through this, it's almost like cheating. You'll get your results so fast and so simply because it's really simple to do once you acknowledge it. So what we did with this guy, right? We're not going to say cut out. The worst thing we're going to do is going to cut out. We're going to acknowledge how he's feeling because those memories are fantastic. We're going to honor that. So we get him to get his grapes, turn off the TV, turn off the computer and sit with his grapes, smell the grapes, taste the grapes, really honor the memory. Remember that girl, that lady, that young chemist. Remember the feelings he had. It wasn't about the girl, it was the feelings he had, what he was going through. So he's sitting at the table and now he's eating the grapes. He's no longer consuming a memory because when you eat food, you lose weight. When you consume food, you put on weight. It's really simple. But you've got to get through the sinking feeling and the thinking feeling first. So you can't just jump to this. So we got him to pick one grape at a time and really taste it and really enjoy it. And after a couple of weeks, he's only eating 3 grapes and then 4 grapes. I had a guy who was doing the same thing with M&Ms. And he went from a packet of M&Ms to 2 M&Ms a day. At the beginning, he was hiding the M&Ms in his drawer. I leaned down there. That's where my desk drawer is. He was hiding. Look back here. There you can see it. Down there is my drawer. Okay? So we're getting you to honor the memory because once you do that and get out of the sinking feeling and become the thinking because you've done the thinking, then and only then do you get your result. And you get your result so fast because it's not about the grape, it's not about the M&Ms, it's not about the memory, it's not about the chemist. So this Friday, we're going to go through a deeper dive and you'll discover how he got his body back because he's done the first 2 phases of the program. There's 5 phases on this program, guys. 5, and I want you to do all phases because when you do all phases, you'll get your body back and you'll never have to be embarrassed about getting on the scales again. I'm Jack, the trainer from Down Under. I'm coming to you from a different angle and from a different suburb. I'm right down there, right up to there, guys. We're going to get your body back and we hope to see less of you next time. In the meantime, get a copy of my book, Free Big Fat Lies, in the what are they called, links or things down below. And we'll look forward to seeing less of you next time. Take care, guys. Cheers.
You've been listening to The Men's Movement. Look forward to seeing less of you next time.